All right, to episode 77 to be exact here. All right, so this will be part 2 of my WebDAV exploitation video. So the difference in this video than what I did in my previous video is instead of utilizing the DAV test utility to basically test out the existence of the WebDAV directory and its ability to execute files within that directory, I'm going to be using a different tool that's part of the Metasploit framework known as MSFvenom. And I'll give a high level definition of what that is as I get to it. All right, so I'm going to give my usual disclaimer here since I'm doing something offensive security related slash red teaming. Um, this is for educational and research purposes only. Any malicious actions that may come directly or directly from anyone watching my videos, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so the first step that I need to do, I actually do need to use, do need to see what my IP address is in this instance, because we're going to actually be using that later as I interact with MSFvenom. And similar to my last video, I already have that WebDAV, those WebDAV credentials, so no need for us to brute force that. And I'm going to be walking through some of the same steps up to a certain point here that I did in my last video, but it's going to be very few of the same steps. So it's not going to be a whole lot of redundancy, but you're going to see some things that look familiar. All right, so here is my IP address right here, which I need to remember because I'm going to be using that once I use the MSFvenom tool. All right. So the second thing I need to do here is I'm going to similar to my last video, I'm going to be running the nmap scripting engine to basically look for the existence of the WebDAV service directory within our target. And I already have the target IP. I've already done our enumeration there. So I'm going to copy our target address, which is here. All right. And let me just go inside of nmap, and we're going to tell nmap we want to do a service scan just so we can see the version and everything that of the HTTP that's running on our target. All right. Then I want to tell it, of course, to aim at port 80. And then to start the scripting engine, I'm going to say -- script equals, and if we want to do a HTTP enumeration, so no dash enum. All right, then I'm going to tell it where to aim that at, which is here at our target. All right, so this should come back and tell us if that directory does number one, if port 80 is open, if it is, if that WebDAV directory is indeed available on that target web server. All right, so we could see the version of HTTP that's running here. That number one, that the port is indeed open, that is running Microsoft IIS. All right, and then we can see that the WebDAV directory is available. All right, now here comes the differences in what it is that we're going to do. All right, so I want to go. First thing I want to do is I want to go in to my browser here. All right. And we're just going to pay a visit to this website. And it's located here and WebDAV. All right. So again, those credentials are the same as last time. It's Bob, and then it's password underscore 123321. All right. So we see we have availability to that through the GUI interface as well. All right. So the next thing I want to do is now I'm going to start using the MSFvenom utility. All right, then to give a high level overview of what that is. So MSFvenom It's a powerful command line utility within the Metasploit framework and is used for generating and encoding custom shell code and payloads. So basically, what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm going to actually be creating a payload instead of using the payload that's already provided for me within MS Console. All right, so to get started in creating that payload, I'm going to say MSF console. No, actually, I'm sorry, MSFvenom. So you should type in console. All right. And then we're going to say P. All right. And then we have to tell it um, the location of the payload that we want to use here. So right now I have that in a folder. It's in Windows meterpreter and reverse underscore TCP, and that's going to create a reverse shell. All right, once executed, and our listening host, and this is why I needed my IP address here because I have to set myself as the listening host. So I'm going to grab that here from mousepad. This is my IP address. All right, I'm going to paste it. All right, then I need to give it a port. So let's use something that's more than likely not being used. So we're going to say LPORT. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, say -F. And then we want this in an ASP format. And so I'm going to say greater than. And when I say that, that means that I want to take all the results of me running this command line, which is going to create that payload, and I want to put it inside of an ASP file called shell, and it's going to be of course.asp. All right, and so the output of this should just be that shell.asp, which is going to contain the payload that I want executed within the web server. So, all right, so I'm gonna hit enter here to get that started. All right, let's see. Uh, oh, you know what? I know what I forgot to do. Before I do that, I actually have to go inside of the Metasploit framework. All right, so let me start that up. So I'm say service, then postgresql. All right, let's start that. And then after that, I want it to start up the MSF console. All right, now that we're in, you see this may or may not be in my history here. Let's see, if not, I'm gonna just scroll back up and copy it. Yeah, all right, so let's just scroll back up and, let's see. Okay, scroll back up and copy that. So I don't have to write it all out again. All right, now let's run this. I'm still not liking that MSFvenom. Oh, okay, you know what? Because I need to learn how to spell. So is it Venom? There we go. Now let's run that. All right, so the payload looks like it's been created. So let me see if I do a ls in my local directory, and we can see indeed that shell.asp is indeed in my local directory. All right, now we're going to go to a step that I did in my previous videos where I utilized Cadaver to actually transfer that payload to the target web server. So I'm going to say Cadaver, and I should be able to do this from the MS console. http, and we're gonna, oops, all right, let's go back here to get that target host IP. All right, and then we want to send that to the WebDAV directory. All right, so let's authenticate. Let's say Bob. Well, actually, what I'm doing now, I'm sorry, I'm actually logging into that. So I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. So this is going to allow me to log into that, and then I'm going to run a command to actually paste that or send that file to the WebDAV directory. Okay, so now I use Cadaver to actually access the WebDAV directory within our target host. So now that I'm in there, now I'm going to send it in there by doing a put command or put method, and I'm going to say put root slash shell.asp. Okay, so this is going to transfer that over. All right, so let me see what command it. What didn't it like? Unrecognized command. Oh, I should. Okay, hold on. I need to space that out. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna do an ls command here just to make sure it's there now, and it's there. And I can also go back over here to the website, refresh it, and we can see the shell.asp is now there. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new terminal because I want to get into another msfconsole session because now I'm going to be using the Metasploit framework to now execute that shell. So something that we need to remember is that when I inside the payload, when I set the LHOST and the LPORT parameters, I'm going to be using that here within the Metasploit framework as well. And basically, I'm not going to have to give it the remote address because everything is already set in the payload that I made. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. All right, so let me start that up. Service postgresql. All right, let's start that up, and then we also want to start the MS console. All right. All right. All right, so then let's see, let's create a workspace here. We're going to call this workspace web underscore dav. All right, so we create that workspace. Let me see, and then I'm also going to set our remote host as a global parameter. So set gr host, so I don't have to do it again. Even though I won't need it for this particular utility, but I will need it for another. All right. All right, and so then from here, I am going to use multi-handler. All right. So now, okay, so multi-handler it actually set its default payload. So I want to set my own payload, and I'm gonna set it to the exact payload that I use to create that shell script. All right. So I'm going to set it to set payload. And remember that was in Windows. Meterpreter. Reverse underscore TCP. All right, so I'm gonna use that same payload. So I want to make sure as much lines up with with what's in my shell script, with what I'm setting here in the MSF console. All right, so then let's show the options. And I know there's going to be quite a bit that I'm going to have to configure. Okay, so I'm going to have to set up the listening host and the listening port. So as far as the listening host, that's going to be myself. So I need to set that again. All right, let me grab my IP address from up here. Paste that in there. All right, and then our listening port, if we remember, that is going to be 1234. All right, so I'm going to run this. This should be enough. All right, so I'm going to say exploit. All right, so let's run that. Let's see what happens. Oh, you know what? All right, start a reverse TSP handler. Okay, so let me open up my web browser and let's click on shell.asp and let's see what happens. Nothing happens in the GUI side, but we can see there's something happening within the Metasploit framework, and bam. So if I'm the victim, as soon as I clicked on that shell script, and I just wanted to see, hey, what's that? I don't recognize that. And I click on that, meterpreter session started from me as the attacker. All right. So now as the attacker, I'm gonna show you that I can run some basic meterpreter commands. Again, I'm not fully in the system. I'm connected to the system. So now I could do some more enumeration. I'm going to say sysinfo. All right. So now it's giving me the computer name, the exact operating systems. We're Windows Server 2019. It has a 64-bit architecture. All right, and then it's telling me the domain that I'm in. It's giving me a lot of, and then the meterpreter session that I'm using, which is 32-bit. All right, and then so let's say I wanted to do some more enumeration. I'm gonna say get UID. All right, and then I see that that I basically have a system authority here. All right, so yeah, so okay, so let's say that I want to do this same type of exploitation, but I want to do it in a more automated fashion using the Metasploit framework. All right, so I'm gonna exit out of here. All right, and it's something that you always want to check, even if it says shutting down session one. All right, we want to just make sure that that session is gone, so we can just type in sessions, no active session. So that tells us that our current meterpreter session has completely gone away, which is what I wanted. All right, so next I'm going to search for IIS specific utility. All right, so I'm going to say search IIS, since we know our target is running that as part of that HTTP web host. All right, so I'm going to say IIS upload. All right, so I'm looking for this one. All right, so I'm looking for basically number one, where it says Microsoft IIS WebDAV write access code exe. All right, so I'm going to say use one, since that's what I want. Now let's show options. I'm gonna leave the default payload there. I'm gonna show options to see if there's any parameters that I need to set. So so it looks like everything gets set there as far as our listing host, which is myself. Um, don't look like actually I do need to set some things. So I go up here. So we already have our R host already. I set that as global parameter because I know I need it for this step. So actually what I'm going to actually need to specify the credentials here. So I need to specify set that password here, the HTTP password, and set that Bob username here to HTTP username. And then as far as the path, I need to give it the directory that we're targeting on this target host, which is going to be that WebDAV directory. All right, so I'm gonna start setting those. So the first thing I want to set is, let's set the password. So I'm gonna say set http password. Or we're going to set that to password 12_123_321. All right, next I want to set the HTTP username. And that is simply Bob. All right. And then let's see the next thing. What I say, I actually need to set the path. All right. So we're going to set that to set path. And we want to set that to WebDAV. And we want to, and we want to use, we're going to upload a file called metasploit. This is already within the framework for us. We want to send a file called metasploit ASP. Excuse me. We do want to send an ASAP though. All right, so looks like we have everything set. The listing host is already set. We could leave the LPORT there by default. That should be an acceptable port to use. It's not 1234, but shouldn't really have any problems using that port 4444. All right, so let's exploit this. All right, bam, and then we're in. Okay, so now I have another meterpreter session going. All right, so let's just make sure that I'm able to do those enumerations. And then in this step two, I want to try to capture the flag in this step. All right, so I'm actually going to execute the shell. All right, so system info still the same. Good. All right, and then get UID. Still the same. All right, now I'm gonna type in shell, and that's basically by executing a shell. Now I'm actually going to go inside of the web server and be able to run commands as a user inside the web server. All right, and as we can see now, I'm in the C drive. All right, system 32 here. All right, so that lets me know I'm actually in the machine. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is let's go to the root directory. So I'm gonna say cd, the home directory rather, since we're using Windows. All right, so I'm all the way back in the home directory, and I'm gonna type dir to do like a really high level search to see all the directories that's within the C drive. All right, so I see all the directories, and I also see our flag. All right, so if I want to see the contents of that flag, I just type, which is the same as think of the cat command within Linux, and it's going to just display the contents of that flag.txt file, and voila, there's my flag. All right, so let's say if I'm an attacker, all right, I got the information that I came for. I got my flag, which is metaphorical, symbolic for sensitive information. Now I want to clean up my tracks here. All right, so we go into here. I'm gonna go back. All right, we can see all of those. All right, we can still see the files that's there. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my first session. All right, I'm still inside of cadaver here, inside of my first terminal. So within cadaver, I'm going to say delete shell.asp. All right, and it says deleting shell.asp. All right, and I'm gonna just do a list command just to make sure that worked, and we no longer see it there. Let's go back to the GUI just to double check. I'm gonna refresh the page. It's gone. All right, so as an attacker, um, that's how, if you were an ethical a hacker or a penetration tester, this is how you could clean up your tracks a bit as far as deleting a file within Cadaver and really confusing the victim as far as a shell script had been there, now it's no longer there, and um, yeah, so it causes more confusion that way for the target. But just to give a high level overview of what I did here, so I pretty much accomplished the same thing that I did in the previous video, but in a different way. So the whole idea here was to really exploit the remote functionalities of the WebDAV extension of the HTTP protocol. All right. So again, what I did, I started off using that same nmap script to be able to find the existence of the WebDAV directory and that IIS protocol. All right. Excuse me, version, IIS version of the HTTP protocol. All right. And then from there, I used MSFvenom to create a custom payload, all right, which I use from a meterpreter reverse shell, and then I renamed it into a ASP shell in my local directory. Since from my previous video, we know that WebDAV directory runs ASP files. All right, so I then used the cadaver utility to use the already gained credentials that I had to log into that WebDAV directory from the command line, and then I used a put command to then upload that shell script that I created, that malicious shell script, and then place it there within the WebDAV directory. All right, and then I went inside of the Metasploit framework. All right, and I use a multi-handler to then set the same payload that was inside the shell script. All right, and then I had to configure some things in there as far as the listening host and the listening port. But once I did that, I executed it and was able to then successfully execute that. I executed within MSF console, but then I had to take the role of the victim or the target, and had to interact with that shell script by clicking on it, and then that's what gave me my interpreter session, which I was able to do further enumeration on. And then I showed us how we could use even more automated method within the Metasploit framework using MSF console, using a ISS upload module, which we could then take the where we could basically send a Metasploit.asp file that's already here in the Metasploit framework, and how we could upload that to the target WebDAV. Now that we know that it's there, all I had to do was set the target. All I had to do was give it the credentials, and it basically did the work that Cadaver did, that Cadaver and MS Venom did for us. And that first initial step, all of that was done just by using that one utility within MS Console, and it pretty much gave us the same result after uploading that metasploit.asp file. It automatically started up a interpreter session for me. And then I was able to, again, do some more enumeration, then execute the shell, actually go inside of that web server as a user, and then, look around in the home directory, look at the various folders that was there, find my flag. In this instance, it was an innocent flag. In real life, it could have been sensitive information that I wanted to copy, that I wanted to exfiltrate. All right, so once I got a hold of that, I went back to my cadaver session, deleted that shell script so it would clean my tracks. It would be hard for anyone to know that I was there, and mission accomplished. All right. So please share, like, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work. And until next time, take care of yourself, and God bless.